Hey y'all, Scott here, and welcome to a new segment I like to refer to as Tales from the Backlog. Man, what a scary intro. I could shit myself all day to that thing. Tales from the Backlog is going to cover me going through games that have sat on my shelf for eons and having me finally take a look at them. So let's go ahead and pick a game at random. Gravity Rush. This is the remastered version. It was originally released on the PlayStation Vita in 2012 and made its way to the PS4 in early 2016. Gravity Rush was the brainchild of Keiichiro Toyama, who directed the first Silent Hill. It was originally being developed for the PS3 before being shifted over to the Vita and finally getting a remaster on the PS4. The game follows Kat, who alongside a cat named Dusty can shift gravity for a short period of time. Kat wakes up with amnesia and decides to help people out with her gravity shifting abilities. And from here, the plot goes all over the place. You bring parts of the city back to where they belong, you meet another gravity shifter Raven who thinks you're a no-good doer, you discover a lost city of children, you have a psychedelic deep dreamlike sequence about who exactly you are and how you'll die. Character-wise, I wasn't really into any of the characters except for Kat. She's adorable, especially this profile shot of her, look at that. Kat's really smart and capable, but she can be super bubbly sometimes, and it made me really like her as a protagonist. All the other characters I wasn't into at all. A lot of the townspeople were just mean-spirited or dumb or annoying, and other characters like the children in the Lost City held me captive, and when told to save them, I was just like, why would I ever want to do that? I never really considered Gravity Rush to have an amazing plot. It works for the game, like I was never really confused while playing. It's just hard to explain to people afterwards, but if you play the game, the plot makes sense in context to the world and the gameplay. However, the plot doesn't really have a coherent beginning, middle, and end. Like, those three sections don't really feel naturally intertwined, they feel very separate. This is probably because the game is structured by episodes, which makes the whole game's plot feel like it's a season of a television show or something that has a handful of stories that kinda come together in the end. It's not authentical, but very rarely did I ever say what during the game. Except at the end of episode 9, I had to rewatch this cutscene like 4 times to even kind of understand what went on. So Kat's doing laundry just in a towel, and Sid, a police officer she befriended, comes by to show her the newspaper commending her for helping the city out. Sid then comments that she's only in a towel, and Kat gets defensive like he's coming onto her, and then she's naked. I guess her towel falls off because she's motioning him to get away from her, but with the comic book style, it's kinda hard to follow and understand. Speaking of which, oh my to this game's art style, it's so cool! The moment it clicked with me was when I noticed how the game handles distance structures. Buildings in the distance are just outlines with a primary color filling them in, and that just looks straight out of a painting or a comic book. I think that looks so cool. The majority of cutscenes in Gravity Rush are in a comic book style, which at first I was turned off by. It kinda reminded me of Bayonetta 2, where some of the cutscenes were fully animated and others were just still images kind of moving. Obviously done as a cost-cutting or time-saving measure, but as the art style started to feel more and more like a comic book come to life, I think they worked out pretty well. They can be sometimes hard to follow, like in the end of episode 9, but they were alright. And I gotta say, this game feels really Nintendo-esque. Some of that's probably because the characters speak gibberish, which was kinda surprising to me. This just seemed like the kind of game that would have full voice acting, but I guess not. It's alright, I just feel like full voice acting wouldn't feel out of place in the game at all, and I would have actually preferred it. Getting to the meat of it all, Gravity Rush obviously focuses heavily on the use of gravity shifting for its gameplay. Pressing R1 lifts you up and allows you to control your gravity based on where you want to land. So if you aim at a wall and hit R1, you'll propel to the wall and will be able to walk on it. The game also utilizes the motion controls of the DualShock 4 and allows for precision aiming. I always love controls like this, where using motion enhances your control tenfold. You do have a limited amount of time to shift gravity, which forces you to be precise and creative with carrying out specific tasks. You may think gravity shifting would get disorienting, but most of the time it's alright. It is really annoying, however, when you're in a frantic fight or race and you end up in a place you have no idea where it is in context to where you were. It can get kinda confusing sometimes, but it works well overall. You see, with a mechanic like this, I thought the game would be focused on exploration and puzzle solving. Nope, combat! The main thing done in Gravity Rush is combat and flying around. And this is where my problems with the game rev up. The majority of missions in this game revolve around using gravity to defeat the enemies, the Nevi. You really only have one main attack in the game, being the gravity kick. Basically, it's like propelling yourself forward with R1, but it's an attack, and this can be incredibly fun. When you land an attack, it makes you feel triumphant. The problem is, this is the only practical attack. The other ones we have here are a standard attack, which doesn't involve gravity shifting, and it does not accomplish anything. It can only really damage the most basic of enemies, and even then, it takes way too long to take them down this way. And we have a few special attacks, but they need to charge up over time, so the gravity kick is the main attack you will be doing. And let me tell you, this thing can be kind of frustrating. Multiple times, it'll simply miss the target or just not hit it at all, or fly by the target, missing it by that much, and it is so frustrating. And this is emphasized by the tedious amounts of enemy waves and bosses you have to fight through. This is actually my main problem with the game. There are so many times where you have to fight through a large wave of Nevi, and then guess what you have to do next? Do it again! And then I realize I haven't leveled up in the game at all. Yeah, I totally forgot about the fact that you can level up your powers and health through the menu, and I figured it out about a solid 80% through the game. No idea how I lived through the majority of it, but it was frustrating, so please, folks, remember to level yourself up early on. This section was the worst to live through without leveling up. It just became unfair, even with leveling up, like half the time. Immediately when I'd respawn, the swordfish Nevi would attack me, and like, what was I supposed to do there? He literally came up to me from behind, I couldn't see him! And then when I would die, it would start me back at the section where I have to travel back up to the wave of enemies. This made me realize I peaked right before I put this game in. Anyways, to level up, you have to collect as many gems as you can. You can either find these scattered across the game or earn them by completing missions. I wasn't super into the missions. They were basically just more combat or more flying around the city, and due to them not really progressing the game forward or offering unique ideas outside of the main story, I only played through a few of them until I got what I considered to be enough gems. Alright, putting aside my frustrations relating to my stupidity about forgetting to level up on my first playthrough, my main problems with Gravity Rush is that the shallow combat is its main focus, and how tedious the game can be sometimes. Like I said, I would have liked a bit more variety with the use of gravity shifting. It's mainly used as a means to fight enemies and get to places. There are a few sections, like this sequence where the pyramid-shaped gravity shifters shift your gravity to wherever they point, that I really enjoyed. I wanted a bit more of this stuff, just on a grander scale. Basing the game around combat is fine, I just would have wanted it to be a bit more deep or interesting, while also having more variety in what you're doing. So much of the game was just defeating a wave of enemies, and then when they were all gone, you had to defeat another wave of enemies. It just got annoying. Overall, Gravity Rush is good, it just has a few flaws that I really want ironed out. It could be tedious and frustrating sometimes, but I was constantly charmed and endeared by the game, and I wanted to see it through to the end. I could see the passion that went into this game, and I want to see this universe expanded upon with more games in the future. And hey, we already have one in the form of Gravity Rush 2, so I can't wait to see how they improved and expanded upon the original with that game. So yeah, I liked Gravity Rush, and with a few tweaks here and there, it definitely had the potential to be one of my favorites. So here's hoping Gravity Rush 2 hits it out of the park. But I have to say, I bought Gravity Rush Remastered for a solid $20 on Amazon, and it's definitely worth that price. I wonder if it's still that cheap.